So before we begin, you guys know I have birds, right? There's Cass and Dean. I'll put a picture up of them. Dean is the one with the darker head and darker, and then Cass is the one with the lighter head. Okay. These little fuckers are scared of the dark. I've never met a bird who is scared of the dark before. Have you? No, because that shouldn't exist. But no, okay? I woke up at midnight to them freaking out because my laptop had turned off and my room was dark. And the only way to get them to stop was to turn on my flashlight on my phone and then come turn my laptop on. So now I'm awake because these little fuckers are scared of the dark. And that's what I had to, You look at me like I'm crazy. I am not crazy. You're the one who's scared of the dark, you little bitch. I'm sorry. That was mean. I am sorry. I was actually gonna get sleep tonight. But no, they had to ruin it. Oh well. This is Oracle, chapters 3 and 4. Trigger warning for attack, depictions of violence, blood, and gore. It was 7 months until the next year at UA started. Shota Aizawa was walking home from patrol at 5 in the morning, ready to pass for the afternoon out due to his lack of class that day. He walked by Dagobah Beach on his way home before something caught his eye. He could see the beach. He looked around confused and saw the entire beach was clean. Over at the far end of the beach were 2 boys. One laying in the sand with a purple cat-designed hoodie that was ripped up slightly, and the other with a green hoodie torn from the ribs down. Green eyes blazing in the darkness and covered in sand. He quietly approached them, trying to get close enough to hear what they were saying. There wasn't much to hide behind, so instead he opted for sneaking around in the shadows. It was still relatively dark out, so it was still feasible. As he approached, he heard the purple one speak. "Stupidest reason you couldn't apply." Green playfully shoved Purple as they started to separate the garbage from the metals. "Look, Toshi, there's no way in hell that I could make it in." "Why not at least apply, though?" Shota stepped forward as quietly as possible. "You know I can't. Shota slipped slightly. Only slightly. Quiet enough that Shota could barely hear it. The green boy stopped talking as soon as the noise was made. He swirled around to look at the general area Shota was in, who was completely still. "Who's there? What do you want?" "There's nobody there, Zoo," Purple said quietly. He looked worried. Green looked around, making direct eye contact with Shota. They stared at each other for just a moment before. "You're right. Probably a cat or something." He turned back to the pile of garbage, and Shota almost sighed in relief. If he had, he wouldn't have seen the shard of metal fly directly at his arm, and he dodged to the left just in time so it only grazed his costume. Green had a bandana over his mouth and his head was pulled up, so the only thing that was recognizable was his green eyes permeating through the night. "Jesus, kid, you trying to give me tetanus?" Shota rubbed where his costume had been cut and looked at Green. Purple stood behind him, eyes wide in confusion and shock. "Maybe. Why are you here at this random beach?" Understanding fluttered through his eyes as he dropped his battle stance slightly. "Today is Saturday, isn't it?" Shota nodded, confused. "How the hell did you know I come back this way on Saturdays?" Green laughed. "I can see all. Nobody is safe, Shota." Shota flung his capture scarf at Green, who got wrapped up in it within a moment. Purple just facepalmed. I told you that you shouldn't provoke heroes like this. How the hell do you know my name, kid? Shota's hair flared up as he pulled the kid close with his capture scarf. The boy just chuckled at him. You're a UA teacher. It isn't that hard to find out. By the way, Green picked up a piece of metal that was thrown at Shota earlier and cut the scarf in a swift motion. I have a recommendation for a student. He bolted, grabbing Purple's wrist and darting into the alley. Before Shota could process what happened, Green was on the roof with Purple. Shota looked up at them and shouted, "Who's the student? Is it your boyfriend over there?" 1, he's more of a brother to me, Shota. 2, you'll find out who it is. Shota sighed as he sprinted out of view. He was too tired to chase after them, so he might as well just go home. He didn't want to deal with the paperwork of 2 paranoid kids who were cleaning a beach, so he didn't report it. Anyway, continuing what I was talking about before Eraserhead so rudely interrupted us, I can't because of 2 reasons. I'm quirkless and legally dead. Izuku said this matter-of-factly, like it was a statement. Hitoshi sighed. I'm not going to convince you into applying, am I? Nope. Alright then. Next topic. Want to help me train my quirk tonight? Sorry, I can't. I have a meeting. Oh, okay. Hitoshi stopped in his tracks as his brain tried to keep up. Wait, meeting? You're legally dead. Who the hell are you meeting? Please say it isn't a villain. It's not. I'm breaking into the support lab to get some gear for when I start patrolling. I want to try and hide my voice. Izuku patted Hitoshi's shoulder. It's okay, I'll be fine. Worst comes to worst, I run away and can't patrol for a while. Hitoshi groaned as they entered their makeshift home and started studying. After a bit, Izuku went to sleep and Hitoshi soon followed. Izuku left at about 3 in the morning, careful to avoid anywhere that Eraserhead was patrolling. He walked deeper into the center of the city. By the time he arrived at his destination, it was about 4 a.m. He looked up at that building, Hatsume Industries. Izuku had heard great things about this place, so here he was, trying to rob it. To be fair, he was leaving payment, but it was still illegal. So there he was, 3 stories up, climbing the side of the building. As he got to the correct floor, he slid open the window to the lab and toppled in with a grunt. As he stood up, brushing the dust off his clothes, he made eye contact with a girl. She was about his age with pink hair. They stared at each other for a minute, blankly, before Izuku realized he'd been caught. I can explain. Perfect. I was looking for a test subject. You, robber cunt, put this on and I won't tell the cops. She thrusted a pair of elbow-high socks into his arms as he looked at the girl, bewildered. Come on, put them on! Izuku hurried to put them on. Why aren't you reporting me to the cops? Izuku asked as the girl huffed and walked up to him to fix the gloves on his arms, pulling them up to his elbows and fitting small devices on his wrists. You're clearly interested in my babies. The girl ignored Izuku's confused sputtering. And I don't have any test subjects. So here we are, at 4 in the morning, and I'm asking you to test out my babies. Am I fighting your children? Izuku whispered loudly, confused. No! My babies are my inventions. Oh, I just got an idea. If you make it through tonight in one piece, mentally or physically, then we should make a partnership. I can be your support gear if you test out my support gear for me. What's your hero name? Actually, are you a villain? No, you're too small to be a villain. Vigilante? She was now fiddling with his gloves before stepping away. Alright, now hold out your arm and press your thumb down on the small button. Izuku, still bewildered, pressed on the button and launched forward as a grappling hook flew out at incredible speed. It embedded itself in the wall and flinging Izuku into the wall face first. He slid down the wall and lay on the ground groaning. The girl squealed in delight. Ooh, breaking and entering, those worked perfectly. She helped him up, taking off his gloves. Yeah, they really do. Hey, what's your name? Izuku asked, tilting his head slightly to the side. Hatsume Mei, at your service. You are. The girl, Mei, held out a hand and Izuku took it. I'll tell you later, once we have a business deal up and running. For now, you can call me... Izuku trailed off, thinking of a code name. This was probably going to stick forever, so he needed to choose carefully. Deku was off the table, seeing as he discarded that title when he died, when he lost his uselessness, when he met Hitoshi. He remembered what he said to Shoda earlier. I can see all. He wanted to become a vigilante, not to be famous like heroes, but to save people. People like him who the heroes don't help because it doesn't help their career. He wanted to see all, even though people struggling in the shadows. He wanted to be Oracle. Hitoshi was studying, reading a book on quirk laws while doing pull-ups with his legs. The entrance exam was about half a year away, and Hitoshi needed as much training as he could get if he wanted to get into the hero course. He heard Izuku call out for him from down the hall. What the boy needed at this time of the night was beyond him, but he was about to go out for his first patrol instead of just random crime-fighting escapades, so that was something. He walked into the room to see him suited up with several different gadgets. I see you've been busy, Hitoshi said blankly, looking at the other boy up and down. He was wearing a short-sleeved green hoodie with a small amount of skin on his upper arm showing before it was covered by black elbow-high gloves with small wristbands around his wrists. The hood was up, covering his green hair, and he had a black mask covering his mouth. It had 2 dials where his cheeks would be, and he was fiddling with them. Over the top half of his face was a glass visor that his distinct green eyes shone through. On his back was a staff with a blade on the end, that Izuku had told him before was a naginata. His belt had a few knives on them, and the classic red shoes had been left alone. That I have. Remember that meeting I went to? Izuku ruffled through a small bag, shoving a few zip ties in as he pulled out another black mask and handed it to Hitoshi. Well, I also got some support gear for you. Those are called persona cords. They allow you to mimic someone's voice. Theoretically, it should still allow you to use your quirk on them, too. Hitoshi felt tears welling up behind his eyes, so he quickly rushed forward to hug Izuku. The first thing he noticed was that he had some sort of armor under his hoodie. The second thing was how nice human contact felt. Izuku returned the hug after a moment of shocked silence, and they stood there for what felt like forever. Eventually they broke apart, and Izuku left for his patrol. Hitoshi got lucky he got a friend this good, one who cared this much for the random boy who dragged his near-lifeless corpse into an abandoned building. Izuku had taken down a few criminals and zip-tied them up. He didn't use his knives to fatally wound or outright kill. He just used them to show... He didn't use his knives to fatally wound or outright kill. He just used them to slow people down. The worst that his blades had done was cut someone's pinky off, and that was some random drunk making unwanted advances on the girl, so that wasn't warranted. As he tied up his third apprehension, he heard some wind move. The familiar footsteps ran through his head as he tried to place down who it was. He shot out his grappling hook to a rooftop, hearing the figure follow quietly. They were good at stealth, great even. Izuku could barely hear them, even with his special hearing aids designed for catching people sneaking up on him. The familiar footstep pattern, the way they rolled along buildings, Izuku snickered to himself. So, Shota, you've come for a second chance at fighting me, or did you spontaneously change your patrol route? Izuku kept running along rooftops, keeping track of where the Erasure hero was. After a minute of running, he heard the footsteps get lighter. Then they went silent. Izuku turned around, looking through the darkness. I really need to get Hatsume to make me Night vision, he thought as he squinted through the darkness. He heard a faint crash in the distance from the direction Shota went. Izuku bolted after the noise. As he got within 100 meters of the noise, he could hear the sound of concrete breaking. Eraserheads labored, breathing a cry of pain followed by a smash of concrete. He heard a man taunting the pro, saying something about killing him. Izuku sped up, ignoring the burning in his legs as he pushed himself. A real hero wouldn't let a man die so easily, not when they could prevent it. Shota's vision blurred. This man had a mutation strength quirk, and a dangerous one at that. He had incredible strength, speed, and better reactions. The villain was no match for Shota. He was basically fighting a tank, an unfeeling, bloodthirsty tank. He groaned in pain as he tried to stand, taking note of his injuries. His left arm was broken and he had a head wound, probably a concussion judging by his vision. Blood trickled out of his slightly ajar mouth. The villain laughed to himself as Shota's fighting resolve. Eraserhead, you're outmatched, fighting quirkless against someone like me. You should have left this to a competent hero. I would have liked a little more challenge before killing you, but I guess I needed a bit more blood anyway. I'm not nearly... The villain's eyebrow twitched, and he turned around and held his hand out. A knife impaled straight through it as he tried to catch it. He let out a yelp of surprise as he yanked it out, and a small person landed in front of the villain. You should really pick on people your own size. The person, judging by their voice, a 20-year-old man, said menacingly as he pulled out a weapon from his back. Eraserhead squinted to make it out. It looked like a naginata, a weapon that Shota hasn't seen nor heard of in a while. The villain took in the small man and laughed. Someone my own size? You look like a child. Get out of here, kid. Your loss of life isn't worth the small amount of blood I get from you. The boy laughed to himself lightly before putting the weapon on his back again. You're right, I'm decently small compared to you, but... He flung out his wrist out, and a cable wrapped around the villain's waist. He flung himself toward the villain, slid between his legs, and popped up behind him, and swung his naginata at the villain. He grunted in pain as it cut clean from his shoulder down to his hip, relatively deep as he stumbled forward. The 20-year-old mystery man quickly held his arm forward, and the grappling hook wrapped around the villain's head and stayed in static position as the man turned his arm 180 degrees so his forearm was facing the night sky. He flung the villain into the alley wall before walking into a small dust cloud and shoving his naginata into the villain's foot. Don't judge someone by their lack of apparent weakness. The villain passed out from the pain, but the man had probably done that so he could check on Shota's condition safely. He knelt down next to the hero, green eyes permeating through the night. Shota stared at the man before his eyes widened in recognition. Wait, are you... Shota, calm down. You're concussed. Your left arm is broken and probably part of your skull. Just wait. You're likely only conscious due to adrenaline, and these wounds will hurt like a bitch once the adrenaline isn't pumping through your veins like black coffee. The boy, green, continued to bandage up some wounds on his body as they talked. How do you know what coffee I like? Shota groaned. The boy stared for a moment, then laughed lightly. Honestly, guess. But if anyone asks, it's because I can predict the future and see all. Can I see your phone? Why? Shota asked, suspicious of Green. The last time they met was at the beach at 5 a.m, after all. So I can call the cops and get you out of here? Green replied as if it was obvious. Shota sighed and handed his phone over. He typed a few things out before calling someone. Hello, is this now, Masa? A pregnant pause filled the air. Green laughed tiredly at whatever the detective was saying. No, Shota just tried to fight a villain and got his ass kicked. I'm requesting medical. You have a tracker on Shota's phone due to his occupation as a pro hero, so you know his location. Another pause. Oh, now, Masa, you'll never find out who I am. After I'm a closed case. Green shut off the phone and chucked it to Shota. He sat back down next to the eraser hero, patting him on the shoulder. The pro dwarfed the kid vigilante, but it didn't matter to him. Why'd you call Stu Couchy specifically? I don't know. I guess he's the only decent police officer out there, despite his friendship with All Might. He spat out at the end, making Shota raise an eyebrow. What do you have against All Might? Did he arrest your parents? Shota winced as he moved his head, and Green shot him a glare to keep him from moving. No, my parents are law-abiding citizens. Blondo just doesn't know how to handle a fucking situation if he can't approach it physically. Shota looked down at his phone, seeing it light up. It was a text from Hisashi. He quickly opened it to see the text history. Shota, your dumbass husband got himself beat up. I'm sending him to med right now, don't worry. Proud of you two for getting married recently, by the way. Notice Shota's ring wasn't there the last time I saw him. He's a good guy. I'd hate to see him die. Make sure you keep him alive, Hisashi. Oracle. Shota. P.S. His contact for you is Loud Pretty Bird. Loud Pretty Bird. Shota? Loud Pretty Bird. Who is this and is he okay? Shota cited his phone. Did you really guess my password in order to blackmail me? He looked up to see the boy, Oracle if his signature was anything to go by, on the rooftop. Don't worry, it's just friendly blackmail, Shota. The ambulance will be here any minute. Say hi to Naomasa for me. He ran away. Shota tried to stand up, ignoring the wail of pain from his body. Wait, what the hell do you... He's gone. Shota slumped against the wall, sighing in pain as he heard the sirens get louder. He looked to his right where the man was, and saw the villain start to stir. Shota stood up, dizzy and disoriented, but standing nonetheless, and he wrapped the rapidly recovering villain up in his scarf. Shota groaned in pain and exasperation as the sirens got closer. He had a feeling this was going to be his very new problem child.